as the NBA moves towards positionless basketball. Being able to handle the ball has become a must. The best handlers in the NBA, like Kyrie Irving and Allen Iverson, can handle and pass like guards, even though they're centers. Good shots can make or break a game, but we remember the player's ball handling abilities long after it's over. In this video, we'll talk about some of the best handles in the NBA. First off, Kemba Walker. Walker played for the University of Connecticut Huskies for 3 years. He averaged 16 points, 4.4 assists, and 4.2 rebounds per game. In 2008, he played in the famous McDonald's All-American game. Walker's improved three-point shot also lets him attack ball screens farther from the basket. This slight advantage gives him more space and time to get away from his defender and go after the screener's man. He's also a sneaky player who knows angles and how to move his body in the air. This is another part of his game that he works on by watching a lot of old game reels. Walker's usage rate is at an all-time high, and he's responded by having the most productive season of his career. He's got the most points, assists, and player efficiency rating for the Hornets, and in terms of real plus-minus, he's 5th among point guards after Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, Kyle Lowry, and Stephen Curry. Up next, Chris Paul. Chris Paul's one of the best passers in basketball games because he relies on serving the right teammates at the right times with the right passes. He also has quick hands, excellent court vision, and a good feel for the game. Paul's the best multitasker in the NBA because he's always involved in business, community, and other things besides basketball. Last year, Paul played in all 58 of the Suns' games until he hurt his wrist. Before that, he looked as tough as ever. Paul also made it to the All-NBA team for the 3rd year in a row, after having the most assists in the league for the 5th time in his career. The NBA player had the 3rd most points, the most assists, and the most steals. Paul also led the Suns in win shares and box plus minus. This past season, the Suns had the best record in the NBA because of how well Paul created clutch shots and how smart he is about basketball. Followed by Tim Hardaway. The Golden State Warriors picked Hardaway in the 14th round of the 1989 NBA draft. He was a vital part of the team's success. After rebuilding in the 1980s, the Warriors made the playoffs in 1987 and 1989. The rest of the basketball world learned about Hardaway's crossover dribble when he played for the University of Texas at El Paso from 1985 to 1989. The name they gave it was the Texas Two-Step. Hardaway's most famous moments in the NBA were when he played for the Warriors for the first 6 years of his career. During that time, he was part of the famous Run TMC trio with Chris Mullin and Mitch Richmond, both of whom became Hall of Famers. Hardaway played 422 games with the Warriors and had an average of 19.8 steals, 9.3 assists, 3.6 rebounds, and 1.95 steals per game. His number of assists per game is still the best of all time. Moving on to Jamal Crawford. In the 2000 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers picked Crawford with the 8th pick in the first round, but he was quickly traded to the Chicago Bulls. He played for the Windy City for 4 years before the New York Knicks got him in 2004. He and guard Stephon Marbury took turns guarding there. His handle probably looks the smoothest of anyone in the history of the NBA. The smoothest, even if not the best. If you watch Crawford dribble, you'll see that he does it in a way that no one else does. He doesn't have a tight low handle like Kyrie or Chris Paul. With the height of 6'6" and a wingspan of 6'10", Crawford's handle is more open and less hidden than most, making it so beautiful. His style is less planned and more about how things sound and look. His movements are so that defenders get scared, and if they get too close, you know what's coming. He never did a single dribbling drill, making his handles even more impressive. Next, Pete Maravich. Maravich was always interested in sports. We've heard that he dribbled a basketball when he rode his bike to school in the morning because he liked basketball so much. He's the oldest point guard in NBA history, and also the best one. Freshmen weren't allowed to play on the varsity team, so Maravich put Louisiana State on the national basketball map. During the 3 seasons, he made college basketball exciting again. By the end of his senior year, when he was named College Player of the Year, he had broken many NCAA records. Pete, who was 6 feet 5 inches tall and weighed 190 pounds, scored most of his points outside or on drives. He wasn't big enough to stand still in one place and make easy shots. He moved quickly down the court, his body was low, and his long bony legs were as wide as his calves as they were as his thighs. He faked, dribbled to the side 20 to 30 feet away, jumped high, and his shots were light and powerfully curved toward the basket. Not to mention Isaiah Thomas. Sure, Thomas didn't invent the behind-the-back crossover or the between-the-leg crossover, but his style of dribbling, shooting, and passing was ahead of its time. Because of how he dribbled, it was almost impossible for his opponents to take the ball from him. Thomas was the toughest player to play the position in his day. He was a fierce competitor who gave no quarter and expected no return. He had the skill and drive to take over a game whenever he wanted to. Thomas helped turn the Detroit Pistons from the worst team in the NBA to back-to-back champs in the late 1980s. He scored the most points in 13 years with Detroit, had the most assists, stole the most balls, and played in the most games. He made All-Star team every year except his last, and in 1990, he was named NBA Finals MVP. Let's learn more about Stephen Curry. Steve Kerr, a former NBA player and general manager, was named the Warriors head coach before the 2014-15 season. Because of this, Curry was given more shooting options. Kerr also changed the team's style of play in a big way, which also helped the team become a title contender. Curry's one of the best NBA players to watch when he can stay on the court. Some people think he's only a shooter, but how he's played for the Warriors this season has shown us that he's much more than that. We tend to forget how good he is at handling the ball, but he makes the most of his speed by always finding a way to make space for himself or his teammates. All we can do is hope that his body doesn't keep letting him down. Curry's been a joy to watch this season. Coming up, Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose isn't nearly as good a player as he used to be, but when he was at his best, Rose was among the best athletes ever. His thunderous dunks, ankle-breaking crossovers, and mid-range shooting made him famous. Rose often uses a quick crossover that could be done with either hand. Even though the season's been great so far, the NBA isn't the same without Derrick Rose. Rose is a player who can consistently score 25 points a night, along with his crazy athleticism. This is because of how well he controls the ball. His crossover can't be stopped, which makes him probably the hardest guard to play against one-on-one in the league. We hope it won't be long before he's back out there breaking ankles and leaving defenders in the dust. Next, Rajon Rondo. Rondo's the most obvious choice to be the best ball handler in the NBA. He's got huge hands and is very creative. If you don't have a jump shot but are still considered one of the best point guards in the league, you have to make up for it in other ways. Rondo's done that with how well he handles the ball. Even though he doesn't have a killer crossover like some of the other players on the list, he can do more with the basketball than anyone else. Rondo's moves, like his version of Hakeem Olajuwon's famous ball fake, always get big men on the other team off their feet. And finally, Kyrie Irving. Uncle Drew's the NBA's fastest rising star, and it won't be long before he's mentioned alongside Derrick Rose and Chris Paul as one of the best point guards in the league. Kyrie Irving isn't just good at shooting, being confident, or having the right body for a modern point guard. He's also good at handling the ball. Irving is a real baller, as shown in his popular Pepsi ads, and he can handle the ball as well as anyone else. Still, it's not just a trick. Irving is just as good at real NBA basketball as he is at his alter ego. All you have to do is watch him play a few times. And on that note, that's a wrap for this video. Which of these players have the most impressive handles? Do you think some of them are way past their prime? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see ya in the next one.